Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael Chisholm, Senior Manager, Public Works. So in relation to the GO bond and the parks update, we have the two processes that are moving forward. With the neighborhood parks, on December 2nd, City Council approved the final concept plans for the 7 neighborhood parks. The design team was then told they can move forward with beginning the design. Somewhere in the middle of November, we should be getting, the city will get the 30% plans of those final concepts. In relation to the community projects, the consultants have finalized in that case, there were 2 public input sessions. They've completed all those. We've set up meetings with all of your offices next week in order to let you know kind of where we are coming out of those projects. And should everything go well then we'll bring it forward to the community for actually putting on an agenda for approval, and then that team will begin the design work of those final concept plans.
Thank you. There was a memo here also addressing some of the conversation that took place earlier in public input regarding Tropicana Park.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing that I'll kind of go through, I guess, a lot of the information that was tried to be clarified in that memo. And I guess the first thing to do is to let the president of the Northwest Neighborhood Association know that, both Carrie and I wrote that memo as in response to being requested for an update. And I know it was taken as a personal attack. I think that was represented here tonight, but that was not intended to be directed towards him. He is the president of the association, and what he had done was gathered input from all of his constituents and then sent them to the city, and then kind of subcategorized them into a couple of groupings. In there, the common theme was lack of transparency and lack of showing the plans. So the intent of that memo was to provide information that was not accurate, even though that is what his constituency or his group feels happened. So we referenced they, we didn't use John or his name. We used the NWA at large and their membership. So I've personally conveyed that to him, and I want to get that on the record tonight, that it was not a targeted attack on anybody. That's not anything staff does. We don't attack individual residents. We don't attack each other. And so we just to clarify that. As far as the public information, we wrote a memo. I think you all got a copy of it. One of the things that I stood here before on December 2nd and was explaining to you all in response to some assertions that a resident or 2 were making was that they had never seen a concept plan that had the 2 clubs on the park plan. And as I stand here today, I still agree with that statement. But what that is not saying is that doesn't mean we didn't show them any plan without a club on it. So there's 2 different things there. They're asserting that we didn't show them the final concept plan before the public meeting, and that is accurate. That is the only concept plan to date that has ever been produced that had both clubs on it. But in the public input sessions, we did have a plan, and the board is behind you, behind me now. If you look in the bottom corner, it does show an area that is labeled potential canoe and kayak club area. So for them to say outright that we never produced any plan, as you heard tonight, there was only 2 plans produced, that's just not accurate. There was actually 3 plans produced. They don't want to acknowledge the one that was used in the public input session. But our consultant absolutely did create that file, send it to the printing company, had it put on a board, which is right here, and that was brought to all 3 sessions. And we did receive comments at those meetings about the clubs going in Tropicana. I put that in there. If it wasn't known until after the public input sessions, up until December 2nd, then those comments never would have been able to have been received because we wouldn't have been transparent, but that is not accurate. So I don't want to sit here and say, there are things that are accurate that they're saying, which is the final concept plan with 2 clubs was produced and delivered in late November and then brought on the public agenda December 2nd. That is accurate. But as far as saying that we never produced any documents to the public that had a plan, that is not accurate. And I made statements to that stating, you know, I went back and watched the meeting. My statements were original concepts to the community did not have the two groups. That's accurate. It only had one location. I made statements saying that they weren't two there. I've always was trying to represent and discuss the final concept plan, which had two areas related to Tropicana Park. I think their argument is moving more towards now there was none, and that seemed to be the tone of all the comments that were received. So I just want to draw the distinction between those two.